You're tuned in to the Restaurant RockStars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Welcome back, everyone, our audience of viewers and listeners. We so appreciate the audience and your appreciation of the podcast. And I'm glad to be back with you. Of course, I'm Roger from Restaurant RockStars. And in this episode, I'm trying to give you an objective opinion on technology. Technology in the hospitality space moves forward at lightning speed. Every single day there's a new piece of technology or development, or so it seems. And our goal is to bring you this technology so that you can make an informed decision. Now, at the heart of it all would be the point of sale system. But POS systems today are so far advanced from where they used to be, and they have so many features and benefits that help you run a stronger, more efficient business. But with that said, today's guest, Mr. Salim Khatri, he's the CEO of a company called Lavu. And yes, they do have a POS with a full suite of features. We'll talk about some of that, of course, in the podcast. But really what we're trying to achieve is to give you an objective view of what's really important if you're looking for a new system or if you're looking for your first system. Now, of course, there are full management suites out there that help you with inventory, and the reporting is so far advanced and everything is cloud-based today. And you can, by virtue of having a device in your hand, you can be traveling anywhere and look at minute-by-minute data in your operation. So with that said, this episode, of course, features a point of sale system, but it also features just what you should be looking for if you're looking to upgrade, buy your first system, and what's important. So thanks for listening and thanks for tuning in. This is late breaking news, folks. Roger from the Restaurant RockStars podcast here. And of course, this episode with Salim Khatri of Lavu is all about the Lavu POS system. However, we recorded this weeks ago before the COVID-19 crisis really took hold. And now we're going to talk all about Salim's pivot with his company to an online ordering system called Menu Drive. And that was important before, but it's more important now than ever. I'm really glad you were able to come back on, Salim, and tell us all about Menu Drive. So tell us first about your pivot, and then let's talk about what Menu Drive is, how it works, and how it integrates with existing systems and the Lavu system.
Absolutely, Roger. Thanks so much, and I'm excited to be back. I hope you and your family are doing great and safe during these unprecedented times.
You as well. We're doing fine. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's an interesting story. About 6 or 7 weeks ago, I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico City working on a project because we were going to launch some POS products down in Mexico. And it was 11:30 at night, and I saw my phone ring. And usually when people are calling you at 11:30 at night, it's not great news. It was the chairman of my board for my company, Lavu, and he said, I've been talking to a lot of smart people, and I believe that China is underrepresenting the amount of COVID-19 infections, and I actually think it's 5 or 6 times higher, and we need to prepare a plan because your customers are small and medium-sized businesses, i.e. local restaurants. They're going to be hit the hardest if COVID-19 turns out to be our worst nightmare, which, as we know, fast forward, that's exactly what's happened. And I said, well, I got this product called Menu Drive. It's an online ordering solution. It's online ordering, and it also is marketing for restaurants. We haven't really paid too much attention to it. It's been kind of one of our products in our portfolio. But I think this could really take off as restaurants need to shift from an offline or brick and mortar model to an online model where restaurants are effectively going to be shut down. And the only way they can survive is if they're taking not only online orders, but they have to turn their restaurant into essentially an assembly line where they get an order online and have to pump out the food so somebody can come and pick it up front, or it goes into delivery. I came back from Mexico. I thought about it on my whole flight, home back to Florida. I assembled my team, my leadership team, and I said essentially the same thing, that we have a problem. COVID-19 is going to be a lot worse than we think. We need to turn this ship around really, really fast, and we need to get Menu Drive in front of as many people as possible. So as I mentioned earlier, Menu Drive is online ordering, but it's a chief marketing officer in a box. And so many restaurants are owned by sole proprietors. I think there's a Small Business Administration says that 73% of small businesses are owned by a sole proprietor. So, and each restaurant on average has less than 7 employees. That's a really, really small organization.
Yes, it is.
Right. And they're all typical, have specialized functions. And oh, by the way, none of it is digital marketing, right? The most marketing they do is word of mouth. Some of them know how to use Facebook. Some of them know how to use Instagram, and that's typically the millennial generation. They don't do anything digital, and they have no way of tracking their progress. So what if there was a way that we can not only get them online in less than 1 hour, upload their menu, and allow them to be in front of the world where they could solicit an order from anybody that has access to the internet. And oh, by the way, we give them insights and we teach them how to market their business, which allows them to grow and survive and thrive in this unprecedented time. That's
Fantastic.
exactly what we've done. That's exactly what we've done.
Wow, that's amazing. So how long does the onboarding process take? And as you mentioned, I mean, this is so unprecedented, and so many restaurants are now pivoting and being forced to pivot, and they found you, and you have an overwhelming amount of business, which is tremendous, and you're able to handle that. That's great. But tell us about, the onboarding process, not only with the menu integration and loading that so that customers know what is available now, because a lot of restaurants have limited their menus and limited their service, but then the marketing piece. So if you could just explain that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, unlike the online ordering services that many of us know about, there's a couple big differentiators. One is we go head to head with Uber Eats. If you were at a restaurant, you are giving 30 to 40% of each order away to Uber Eats, because they sourced that customer for you, i.e. they found that customer and they marketed you on their app, right? So it's a great business for them. It's actually what's driving Uber's growth, which is Uber Eats.
Yes.
But it's horrible for a small restaurant, right? Like
huge margins lost. Yeah.
Huge margins. So what Menu Drive does is we cut all that out, right? And so what you have to pay us, you don't have to pay anything up front. So there's no monthly minimum. There's no onboarding fee. We just take a small percentage only when you actually do an order, and you're able to save, I did the math for a handful of our clients, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for some large franchises.
Yes.
And then millions of dollars a year. But it translates into massive savings for everybody. So that's the first value proposition is profitability. Number two is ease of onboarding. You can onboard onto Menu Drive in less than 1 hour. We're building a self-service portal where people can come to menudrive.com and they can literally within 30 seconds, they can just enter in their name, their restaurant information, upload their logo, upload their menu, right, which may take a little bit more time because they have modifiers and such, and then be online. And then from there, we offer Facebook, Google, and other integrations where they can use to share and promote and market their product.
I had no idea it was that simple and that quick and that fast. That is unbelievable. So someone can literally, in an hour be up and running and pivoting. And if they've already pivoted to this model, you're offering this now, I understand, the platform for free for the foreseeable future, or how is that working?
Yeah, so we're taking a completely different approach. You don't have to talk to a salesperson. You don't have to talk to anybody. You just come to the website, and that's something that we're building on. Our what we charge is we charge 4.5% of the order, which pales in comparison to the 30 or 40% that you charge Uber Eats, and that includes your credit card processing. So that 4.5% includes your credit card processing rate, and includes free delivery. So we've partnered with DoorDash, and you get free delivery for your customers.
That's excellent. All right. Okay. Wow. With DoorDash. So someone goes to menudrive.com and they can literally set themselves up and take it from there and literally be up and operating the same day, literally in an hour or two.
That's right. We want to make this super easy for people. And what I tell customers is please don't over optimize during this time. Now is the time for you to get your restaurant online. My staff and I will help you iron out the kinks as you go along. And there's two stats that really have driven me to be able to be so bold with my customers. Literally, I wrote it in bold. Stop, over optimizing, get online. Number one is in March, Menu Drive, restaurants that were on Menu Drive grew their sales 35% versus the previous month. And the national average was down 31%. So I'll say that again. Restaurants on Menu Drive grew their sales 35%. The national average was down 31%. So you're looking at a 100% swing, 100% difference. Number two, if you look at the last recession, 80% of the businesses that were shut down temporarily for 1 month back in 2008, 2009 went out of business forever. So if you were 8 out of 10 businesses that were shut down for at least 1 month went out of business forever. And so what I'm telling them is get online ASAP. It doesn't matter if you're selling your top 5 items. It's okay. Don't over optimize. Now is the time. Let us help you. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Just talk to as many customers and be as helpful as possible.
Well, Salim, this is certainly a time where the industry is rallying together and businesses, service providers of all types are really doing their part to help restaurants that are stricken by this crisis, not just survive, but really succeed and move forward. And obviously, Menu Drive is doing such a wonderful job in meeting that objective. And you're giving people an opportunity to change their business model, because I think there's been a lot of discussion about, dine-in service. And when it does come back, no one knows what volume of customers will actually be comfortable sitting in restaurants for a while. And this whole delivery model is the pivot that will change your model for the future. And even if dine-in does come back to the extent it was, here's a whole new profit center to increase revenues in excess of what you did before. So I think you're providing a tremendous value to the industry. You do provide the free online ordering platform. We've talked about how easy it is to integrate, and I understand it works with Lavu, but any other POS system as well. Integration is widespread. So there's really no reason why you wouldn't take a look at this. And I'm really glad that we did this last minute addendum, because again, we're trying to do everything we can to give our audience the information that'll help them not just succeed, not just survive, I should say, but really move their business forward. So, Salim, any last minute thoughts? I know we can find you at menudrive.com. It's simple. It's easy. You get people up to speed in as little as an hour, which is amazing. And again, it's another profit center for your business.
No, that's absolutely right. And the one thing that I would say is the POS world is still something that's important to us. It's going to be in the background, right? We say that good technology is something that you can't really see. It just magically works. POS is going to have to be redesigned from the bottoms up in 9 or 12 months. Once we get through this, there's a vaccine, and there's going to be, cloud kitchens. There's going to be, delivery at the forefront, pickup, et cetera. So we're going to take a holistic view, and we're going to evaluate what that looks like. But right now, it's what you said, get online fast. Let us help you. Let us help you grow your business. We stand with you and all the other local restaurants that are out there.
Well, folks, I definitely want you to listen to the Lavu episode or view it, because we do video and audio. This is an addendum to that podcast. And again, if you're interested in a new POS system, because we are advocating that now that you have limited service or your restaurant is idle or shut down, now is the time to improve your business to, again, give yourself the best chances for success in the future. And I believe this episode was very robust. Again, Salim and I spoke weeks and weeks ago before this crisis really became this pandemic and this, unprecedented disruption to our industry. So the episode is still highly relevant, but now more so than ever. So thanks again, Salim, for coming on. And that's, once again, menudrive.com. Thanks again. And we will see you in this episode. Welcome back, everyone, to the Restaurant RockStars podcast, engaging solutions that help restaurants rock their profits, build their brands, deliver amazing guest service experiences. I'm really excited today
to have Mr. Salim Khatri, and he is the CEO of a company called Lavu, and they specialize in point of sale and systems solutions just for the hospitality space. Welcome to the show, Salim.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here today.
Well, this podcast is all about giving our audience and our listeners ideas and, best practices and anything that'll help them improve their business. And, everybody needs a point of sale. And technology has changed so much because when I ran restaurants 20 years ago, the systems were cumbersome and you had to pay a fortune for the hardware. You had to, pay the software license. You had to pay a maintenance contract because when the hardware went down, they would replace it for you. But that was a couple $1,000 a year. And not to mention, there really weren't any handhelds and there weren't iPads, and you couldn't have the convenience of going to the table to serve the customer and the ease of payment processing and all those things. And now, it's completely different. And I know your company is really at the leading edge of what is available from a tech perspective. But before we get into what Lavu is all about, I'd really like to ask you, your backstory is very heavily in technology. You've got an MBA from Harvard Business School, arguably one of the best MBA programs out there. It's always Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, those are the top three in my mind. I got an MBA from Babson, specialized in entrepreneurship. It was a great experience.
Great school.
So
yes.
Harvard MBA, and then did you have a tech background prior to getting your MBA? Did you sort of pivot at some point in your life? Where did the tech come in?
It's always an interest in technology growing up. Just like to play around with computers and video game consoles, et cetera, et cetera. But
yes.
was pretty much numbers and finance all the way up until that point. But what happened was I was at Goldman Sachs for the summer while I was at Harvard Business School. And then I thought for sure I was going to go back to Goldman Sachs when I graduated, like most MBAs would. And lo and behold, the world crashed. And at that point, I just said to myself, I'm done being the guy behind an Excel or a computer screen. I just don't want to do it anymore. I've had a fantastic run, and I've had the opportunity to meet with senior business leaders and make decisions at a very young age. But I really want to go into something that excites me, that I can leverage all of my experience. So I got a job as a chief of staff for Sears Holdings. So I went from Goldman Sachs to selling refrigerators and dishwashers. At that time, Sears was a $45 billion business. I was sold on the fact that the company was going to turn around. We quickly realized that wasn't happening. And if you fast forward to today, Sears has filed for bankruptcy. And
yes,
I think I made the right decision. But I did that opportunity at Sears allowed me to get my first startup job in Silicon Valley. So I left everything and I moved to Silicon Valley with one suitcase. I had no place to live, and I joined a company that was going to make digital textbooks. Everything was going to be done on a two-sided, basically iPad, if you will. And that was my first technology experience. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience and effort by the team.
Was that a startup or was that an established company when you joined it?
That was a startup. So we raised over $80 million from Andreessen Horowitz, which is one of the best VC firms in the world. And then ultimately we sold that business to Intel, their education arm. And then after that, I started another business, which was a technology-enabled men's sampling service for fragrances, shaving cream, etc. And wanted to take some personal time. Was asked by the Obama administration to join the U.S. Treasury Department to help us reclaim the money from the auto bailout. And sort of one thing led to another, and I was kind of going back and forth between both coasts.
That's fascinating. What a background you have. So then you obviously developed, well, not only the interest that you had in technology growing up and as a young person, but then you had exposure in Silicon Valley to startups and tech. Did you become a programmer at any point in your life? Did you have those skills?
I never became a programmer, and I always look back and say, what would I change? I do believe that life is not a straight line. No. I'm very fortunate to be in the seat that I'm in today. But if I really wanted to supercharge things, I would have probably focused on computer science in undergrad rather than finance and accounting. I think that experience is really, really critical for young people today.
It is for sure. But so is the finance part, and being really solid with numbers and math is so important as a life skill. And I know I've got 2 young daughters, and it's like I'm definitely pushing them in that direction to get solid grounding in those basic skills. And they've developed an interest in it. And who knows, it's amazing what the kids today can do versus what we did back then, and the
That's
technology they have at their disposal if they channel that in a positive direction.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I have 3 kids. My second daughter, when she was 2 years old, she was playing with the iPad. She knows the passcode, and it's just amazing
That's awesome.
what Steve Jobs has built. It's really, really just changed the world.
So let's fast forward to recent. How long ago did you start Lavoo?
So I joined Lavoo almost 2 years ago. After the Treasury Department, I started another startup called InstaVest. It was backed by Y Combinator, which is a seed stage investment firm in the Valley.
I'm familiar, yes.
Right? Yeah. So as a former entrepreneur, or as an entrepreneur, you definitely know that. That was an amazing experience, and I really learned. I would say the 2 biggest lessons I learned there is, building something that customers want, and managing your emotions as a leader or a startup founder. So after InstaVest wound down, I had an opportunity to join Lavoo. And I joined Lavoo as a senior vice president focused on finance and business development. So, making sure the numbers were ticking and tying, but also seeing what deals or partnerships that were out there that could supercharge Lavoo and the business. Ultimately, I was given the opportunity to based on my work, I was given the opportunity to become CEO of the business, and we grew 50% year over year in my first year. And so again, life is not a straight line. You just kind of have to be there for opportunities, and you really have to seize them when you get that opportunity and make the most of it.
Now you've got some really impressive statistics. Lavoo has thousands of customers in over 90 countries now, which is impressive. You obviously made a splash in a saturated marketplace because there's so many different tech companies that are hospitality based, and some of the larger food service companies have now either purchased systems or they developed their own systems. So it is a competitive marketplace. But you've got some competitive advantages that have led you, to have customers in 90 plus countries. I think I saw on your website that you've got billions in food transactions that have gone through the systems and all this sort of thing. So let me go back to what I said earlier in the conversation about, 2 decades ago, how technology has so shifted now. And if you were to put your operator sort of hat on and give your best advice to an existing restaurant operator or somebody who's starting their very first restaurant, what should they be looking for in a system solution? Not only point of sale, but point of sale goes beyond just entering the orders and sending them to the kitchen. I mean, there's so many different, and you have an office suite and all sorts of things we're going to get into, but what would your best advice be for someone looking for either a new system or for the very first time, or I got to get rid of this system. It's just not making my business efficient anymore.
When people come to me for advice, I don't like to be authoritative. I like to help them get to the realization that something may or may not be good for them. And so the way that I would basically ask is, what is it that you're looking for? Why did you start your restaurant? 9 times out of 10, people start their restaurant because they want to host, or they love cooking, or they love building something from nothing, right?
Yes.
But they never ever say it's because I want to enter an order in a POS system, or I want to deal with loyalty rewards for a customer, right? They never have ever said that to me. And so my advice would be to choose a system that will allow you to focus on the things that matter most to you, right? And so what that means is, if you want to host, if you want to cook, if you want to, bring 100 or 200 people into your restaurant per night and make sure they have the most amazing night of their life, you need a system that is essentially invisible, right? You need a system that will have software and payments integrated into it, and you need a system that everything just works, right? And so Obviously, I'm biased. I'll guide people toward Lavu because that's our company and we really care for our customers. But that's kind of the overarching piece of advice that I would give is you need something that just works, is battle tested, and that allows you to focus on the things that matter most to you, not necessarily the minutia of running the restaurant.
Now, Lavu is completely it's iPad based. It's also cloud based, which is something that, if you go back in time again, we had these very cumbersome battery backup things that would last maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and you kind of get your house in order, and then all of a sudden the system's going to go down. This takes me back to the good old days, and now everything is cloud based. So obviously that takes away that challenge. And the mobility is so important, not only for the ease of use for the front of house staff, but also the convenience of the customer. I mean, we're talking, you can take these things right to the table to take the order. You can payment process right there. It's not lost. It's no wasted steps. I mean, that's one of the biggest features right there. And Lavu really specialized in that from the get-go, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the longest time, Lavu was all things to all people. So if you were a customer and you needed a feature, we would write that right away. No questions asked. The developers would get on it. And that's why we have such an amazing and robust suite of features. But what you're talking about, bringing payments to the table and having handheld devices to be able to manage your business on is really the wave of the future, right? Customers, our restaurant operators need to be able to turn tables faster. And the way you turn tables faster is not by asking the customer to come up to your old clunky POS, but by going to that person when you recognize that he or she may be done with their meal and dessert and tea, and then just allowing them to check out super quickly so you can get the next person in.
Absolutely.
So we want to drive that efficiency, and technology costs have come down so much that we're able to give this to our customers at such an affordable and easily implementable, price point.
That's fantastic. So is it, are you leasing equipment at all? Or are people providing their own iPads? I mean, how does that all work? And you have a tier of services, or is it all inclusive for one price? How does your pricing model work?
So traditionally, we've been a la carte. We've had a month-to-month, no contract approach. So $79 a month per terminal, and then you can add on Lavu loyalty, Lavu gift cards, etc. We've moved in the direction where we also want to provide you a payment solution, which is, I would say on average 5 to 6 times what you might have get from other people in the payment processing business. We're very competitive. That's number one. We also want to provide you with an online ordering solution, because nowadays the generation under me is, as you know, you talked about your daughters, they're doing everything on their phone, right? And they want either delivery or instant gratification. And then we also provide accounts payable automation. So one of the things that restaurant operators hate is getting a paper invoice in the mail where they have to take their checkbook out or log into their laptop, take away time from the register or the kitchen, and they have to manually type everything in. With Lavu, you can just take a picture of the bill or the invoice. It goes into the cloud, automatically goes into your bill pay system, and you're done. So it's all about efficiency, and we have a fantastic bundle that allows people to do that. That's $499 on contract, but it's processing, point of sale, online ordering, accounts payable, you name it, it's one-stop shop.
Let's talk about, I know you've got an app. It's called, obviously, the Pilot app, and that allows operators to view their reports from anywhere, because obviously we're not always in the restaurant. A lot of us are, running 24/7, but there's also travel and downtime, and this makes it easy for you to follow up on the critical numbers that are important to your business when you need to see them, and you can now see them from anywhere. But let's talk about all the different reports, because these systems have been created so robust now that they offer so many different reports, so you can zero in on so many different aspects of your financial performance of a restaurant. What are the most important, reports that operators should really pay attention to, and how easy is it to access that information?
Yeah, I mean, the most important reports are the end of day cash till reports, right? So being able to Z out your register and being able to see how you did on a cash basis at the end of that day to make sure everything is reconciled, your tips are reconciled, you know how much revenue you have, you understand what your costs are. And so I just want to go back to the accounts payable solution a little bit because it is tied to reports.
Yes.
What we're going to be doing right now, it's standalone. We're going to be integrating that solution into our inventory program. Now, for the first time, restaurant operators will be able to see a real-time P&L or a real-time income statement of how they're doing on a day-to-day basis, right? So they know they're serving steak, chicken, and fish to the various tables, and they're selling wine and they're selling soda. So we know what their expenses are, plus their labor. We know what their expenses are for the day. But now we'll be able to tell them, hey, Jim, you need to sell $20,000 today in order to break even. That gives somebody a goal. And when humans have a goal, they understand what it is that they have to run towards, and they will automatically become much better at accomplishing their vision. And so that technology is part of the reports that you just talked about.
Now, that end of day report, sales report, now all these reports I understand are fully customizable. So you work with the customer to customize the report. So you can rank categories or in terms of sales volume from most, highest sales to lowest, and you can really see what's moving on a daily basis and all that sort of thing. Is there also a feature that allows you to compare, let's say, server sales from one to another to see, okay, this person is a superstar, a salesperson, because let's face it, sales are the lifeblood of this business. Sure. And you've got order takers on the floor, and you've got people that suggestively sell and increase the check average at the table, which has always, been super important to operators. And is there a feature that'll allow us to do that?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a way to see how your servers are doing, and then you can export all this information into CSV, which you can open in your Excel file, your Google Sheets file, or your Apple Numbers file, and then you can manipulate the numbers there as well. So there's no end to how much analysis you can do, and as a former analyst, that's something that's really important, right? But we also want to try to make it easy for the operators. Like, we know what it takes to be successful to run a restaurant business. So we try to put all those things up front so they don't have to go and manipulate the data after they've downloaded it. So we try to give you the answer right away.
Okay. And there is a payroll as well function to this, because obviously everybody is punching in and out on the iPad when they start their shifts and that sort of thing. And that must be obviously very intuitive and easy to use as well. And it just... Absolutely. It literally cuts the process down tremendously. I remember in the old days, again, I keep going back to that old system I had, but you could print a payroll report and it'd be like 10 pages long, and we'd have to go through the whole thing, compare it against the schedule. You could edit punches if somebody punched in early without that approval, but it took like an hour to do the payroll. It was ridiculous. And now you can do it in like 10 minutes. It's like bang, 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 and it's done. You can edit on the screen. All these features are now possible with this system, right?
That's correct. And so the test or the joke that's around the office is, if Salim can close out a register at the end of the day, then we know we built a product that is easy to use. Because my first job was working at an ice cream parlor. Like, I was the guy at the register, and I was the guy scooping ice cream. But I haven't run a full-fledged restaurant. But we want to make it so easy that somebody who is thoughtful can at least close out a register, because, as you know, restaurant turnover is very, very high.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's a very important point you're making, because, again, labor shortage, hard to, find, keep motivated, great staff. And with the turnover, and you're finding new people all the time in many restaurants, and you're training them, and there's a cost to that, and there's a downtime to that until people get up to speed. So this is simplifying an operator's, life and challenges on a day-to-day basis to get people up to speed really quickly, and as intuitive as the interface is, and to learn and to pick it up easily. And you poke fun at yourself. If Salim can do it, anybody can do it.
That's right.
Okay.
The other thing that I would add to that is, we, for one of our largest clients, it's a major university in New York. You can use your imagination.
Okay.
We have a number of Lavu kiosks deployed in their cafeteria. So kiosk is exactly what you might imagine. Right. You would just go up to the screen, you would hit a couple buttons, and you would order. Our data shows that the average order size compared to a waiter or waitress is 21% higher with kiosk. because we collect the data and we know across all of our thousands of restaurants around the world, if you order a hamburger, you're 82% likely to order a very specific size of fries. So we will upsell you automatically. And then once you get the fries, you get the Coke. And if you get the Coke, you might get the apple pie too. And so we're constantly, for such a long time, POS was enabled to just kind of help a restaurant run and plug orders in. Now I think we're at the point where software and technology and payments is going to force companies like Lavu, and we're already doing it, to help restaurants generate more revenue. That's what's really important, right? You don't want just a dumb box. You want something that's really going to help you grow your business.
Pennies equal dollars, and every dollar counts. So I'm with you on that. And you also have a payment processing feature as well, which is sort of a one-stop shop because everybody obviously needs processing of credit cards. And you offer very competitive rates. And is it transparent? Because let's go to the payment processing industry, because again, my own experience going back, there were so many sort of hidden charges. And if a card was compromised and somebody had to punch in the number digitally versus swiping a card and all these, interchange fees and all this kind of stuff, and you'd get a statement that was very hard to make sense of. Has that all changed now?
I will say that payment processing, subscribing to a payment processor is like buying a mattress. You never know what you're going to get. The same mattress could be rebranded at Costco and it's $500, and you go to Sleepy's or something like that, it's $3,000. So you never know what you're going to get. Right. However, I will say we try to be very, very transparent with our customers. We give them a schedule of what the charges are because those charges are coming from the payment processor that we're working with.
Yes.
So we want to make sure what our customers are getting. And I will say we offer our customers a flat rate. That's really, really important.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, we don't, we offer them a flat rate and we make sure they understand, what to expect, because a restaurant's margin is very, very thin, right? You're looking at 5%, maybe 10% net margin at best.
Correct.
And believe it or not, half of that margin is trapped in your payment processor. So if you're paying 4 to 5% on the payment processor, which I imagine a lot of your listeners are, please pick up the phone and call your processor and tell them to give you a better rate. They will give you a better rate. You can call Lavu if you want, but definitely call your existing payment processor.
Now, in my experience, I've always found out that it was a function of volume and the amount, not only of the amount of payments that were card-based payments, but really the dollar volume on an annual basis of a restaurant used to determine what percentage a restaurant paid. And unless you could show that you had significant volume and it was really worth the processor's time to give you a good rate, you wouldn't get one. Is that similar, the same? Because you said if you ask, if you don't ask, you don't get. I learned that a long time ago. But
right. It volume does play a role in it, but again, with payments have been commoditized over time, and so they will give you a better rate, and the expectation for volumes have definitely come down.
Okay. Let's move on. You talked earlier about inventory management and accounts payable and all these things. Can we do a deeper dive into both of those functions? And let's really give the operator a sense of how this is going to save them time, be more efficient. I know a lot of people in this business that for whatever reason, it's like inventory is just one more of those details of 1,000 details running my restaurant, but not taking inventory is like ripping up $100 bills in your walk-in or leaving a stack of $100 bills there, because unless you know what your true food, beverage, and labor costs are, you might as well be dead in the water. You're leaving not only opportunity, but and you mentioned the margins are so slim. So how does the inventory system help an operator? How does it work? Give me an idea of that.
We try to keep it very simple, so we know what the true cost is and what the theoretical cost is.
Yeah.
And we basically have a system that allows customers to be able to measure what they've paid and what they think they're going to pay, and how that measures up with recipes. So, for example, if you're making soup, you know that there's certain ingredients that have to go into that soup.
Right.
And so you use the inventory app to be able to break it down into that recipe. So that soup costs you $1.85 to make, but you're selling it for $8.95. you know that you're making $7.10 on that meal, which is on that item, which is exactly what we want to be able to do is in order to help you succeed as a small business owner.
So I'm hearing that the app will actually help you cost out your menu accurately.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's
something that we've spent a lot of time on, and we have I would say that's one of our largest software teams right now is inventory.
This I have to bring this up because I do quite a bit of personal restaurant coaching. And the biggest thing that I found out is when restaurants design menus, Salim, they should be designing it for three things. You want to obviously design a menu for appeal, variety to the customer, but most of all, profit. And a lot of these restaurants are getting the variety part and the appeal. Oh, this is a really appealing menu. There's a choice for everybody and everything. But the spread difference in the different categories of what they're actually earning for a margin on every dish is staggering once we do the homework. And they're losing dollars every time they sell this versus that because for whatever reason, lower profit items are taking sales from, they're more popular and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. Yes. So it really helps to have a feature that, one, allows you to dial in the cost accurately of each menu item. And then the product mix feature, which I'm sure you have, the P-Mix report, where you can see the volume of sales of every single item over a date range, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. And then suddenly, you assign these values and you say, wow, this is only contributing this amount of profit, but it's outselling that by so many items. And now it's time to go back to the drawing board. I work with a lot of restaurants to help them do that. But the first step is costing out the menu. And a lot of restaurants aren't even doing that.
You have to be able, that's exactly what you said. You have to cost out the menu. You have to be willing to put in the effort.
For sure.
And that's the more effort that you put in, you do the homework,
right?
And you'll have something that you can build your base on. You've got to be willing to roll up your sleeves.
Right. And then earlier you talked about just taking a picture of invoices and then sending it off into the cloud.
Yeah.
And then saves time, right?
Yes. So again, it comes back to efficiency, making sure that your invoices are paid on time. You never want it to be Friday night when you expected to get a drop the morning of, and you have 50 people at the door and you don't have any steak, right?
Correct.
So you want to make sure that and look, that software goes a really long way because then you can print a report out that says, your accounts payable are this, and it will allow you to make some suggestions on how to manage your cash.
Okay, great advice. Let's talk about the onboarding process. Let's say I'm a new restaurant operator. I'm totally intrigued with this conversation and everything I'm learning about Lavu. First of all, I can go to your website and get a free demo of how all this works, right?
Right.
Which is really awesome. So I want to encourage the audience, if you're looking for a new system or you're just thinking about it, go to lavu.com and check out the free demo, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We'd be happy to give you a demo. Look at the videos. We have a ton of content on pricing your menus, the ultimate restaurant guide, opening up your second location. We really want to help. We don't view our restaurant operators as customers. We really do view them as partners. And when I first joined, if I can just digress for a second. When I first joined, I was like, what's the mission here? Facebook is all about connecting the world. That's an amazing mission, right? Twitter is the same way. Twitter gives you access to people that you would never be able to communicate with. What am I going to do in this POS business? And I thought about it. I said, look, and I looked at our customers or partners, who I call them. They're small business owners, right? And small businesses are very, very hard to run. You've run startups. I've run startups. The presidential campaign is going on right now. They're talking about small business growth, and it's really about accomplishing or achieving the American dream. So our goal, our mission, is to help every single one of our users of the Lavu product be successful small business owners, right? And that is our mission, and that's what we kind of build on. And just to take a little further, right now we're all dealing with the coronavirus.
Right.
And
Right.
We really want to stand by our partners. And what we've done is, if your city or town is quarantined and you are forced to shut down your restaurant, we will give you free software. So if you're shut down for a week, we'll give you a month. If you're shut down for 2 weeks, we'll give you 2 months. If you're shut down for 3 weeks, we'll give you 3 months, right? And so it doesn't cost us anything to run software or give you that incremental copy of software, except the hosting charges, but we want to make sure that we're good partners.
So that's value added right there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's not just about getting as many customers as we can. It's really about helping people succeed and giving them value to help them run stronger, more efficient businesses.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. That's our mission.
Okay, so I'm a new customer. Take me through the onboarding process. How easy is it to get this whole system up and running in my restaurant, get my staff trained, get all the menu items programmed in there, categorized correctly so that bang. And then how easy is it after the fact? Because changes happen all the time. We change prices, we change menu items. How easy is it to do it yourself? But one step at a time. Take me through the steps.
So we've had customers who buy in the morning and they're up and running at night.
That's amazing.
These
same
are
day.
The cities out same day. So this was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I personally sit in Miami. So we've had people that buy and they say, "Hey, look, I need this tonight." We will go there and get them onboarded that day. Wow. The average is probably 1 to 2 weeks, and the long pole in the tent is adding your menu and customizing your menu.
Right.
So our thought is, how can we get that? How can we improve that? So everybody knows about the business and web hosting provider called Shopify, right?
Correct.
Shopify has enabled thousands of retail customers. It's a $500 stock, amazing product, amazing company. What we're going to be doing with the menus is exactly what Shopify has done with their stores. So if you were to go on to Shopify and you wanted to build a store, it's click, 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 and the simple way for you to be able to upload all the items that you're going to be selling. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be moving away from kind of the human back and forth about menu management, uploading all that stuff. We're going to make it much easier for you. But today it's about 1 to 2 weeks. We go through training. We go through, we ask you very detailed questions about, how you want your menu set up, the template layout. Is it a bar? Is it or what kind of business is it? So we really try to hold your hand during that process. It's very, very white glove, and we want to make sure that you're set up for success.
Does all this happen remotely, Salim, or do you have dedicated people in the field as well?
We have dedicated people in the field to come and install. And those people are professionals. They've installed thousands in the U.S. and globally. But then in terms of being able to upload your menu and work through the onboarding, that's all done by Zoom and by phone.
Great. Okay. That's what I would expect. It makes it easy and convenient for everyone. Awesome.
Right.
And then once everything is up and running and then somebody has a change, is it pretty easy to figure out? Everything else is intuitive. So now that I've learned the process, I should be able to change my menu prices without too much difficulty as well.
That's correct. And if you want to copy your menu because you have a second location, you can do that as well. So we've provided a ton of tools that allow you to do these things. We also even have add-ons like OpenTable and QuickBooks that you can just go into our control panel, which is accessible only to the person with the highest level of security permissions, and they can add these things or change the settings as they wish.
Oh, so you're integrated with QuickBooks as well. That's very important. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty much the standard now for, restaurant accounting. I used it for 20 something years myself. I still do, actually.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So we try, our philosophy is we're not going to be able to build everything, but we want you to have access to everything that you want, right? And so we have a number of different partnerships, as you mentioned at the top of the call, and integrations as well.
Okay, let's talk about stored value and gift cards, because every restaurant needs gift cards now as well. And then there's loyalty programs. Those are two separate and distinct things that work similarly because they're both mag stripe type cards that track value, that track, customer loyalty, all that sort of thing. I mean, I remember this all being available back in the day, and I'm sure it's come light years ahead now. Let's talk about all the features there.
Sure. I mean, so we have Lavu Gift, which is the gift card you can swipe, and like for example, if you're using another credit card processor, before you actually complete the purchase, if you send us the codes for those gift cards, we'll make sure that they're valid and they work within our system, so that that's a liability that the restaurants have to carry. So we want to make sure that that's taken care of. Number one. Number two, we have a very robust loyalty program where folks can have their own app. We have a number of restaurants that are using that, makes them look professional, polished, and keeps those customers coming back, right? So we have that as well. Those are additional charges, but those are definitely two of the I would say most best sellers in addition to the POS.
Right. I remember we used those features back in the day as well, and it was such an affinity builder with the restaurant. We had a huge mug club, because we had a very large bar. And as part of the value added, we gave people what we called the kickback card. And every time they would spend any money in the place, it would sort of track their spending. We could program it to randomly award these customers prizes at different times. And we could track who the biggest spender was over the course of a month or 3 months. So we would reward these people, and it created tremendous value within the restaurant. So I think that's a really important feature as well. And a lot of restaurant owner, operators, general managers should really take advantage of all these different features, because they're business builders, they're brand builders,
That's
right. It's incredibly important.
It'll keep people coming in, and it'll help you increase your revenue. I mean, and if they have a good experience, they're going to tell other people, right? Which means you can just focus on doing more of what you love.
Well, fantastic. It's been super great talking to you today, Salim. Have we missed anything that you would like to talk about, whether the industry, about trends out there, the system itself, anything about Lavu that you'd like to still mention?
There's one thing that I did want to talk about, and that's our online ordering solution. It's called
let's talk about
Drive.
That.
It's called Menu Drive. We actually acquired Menu Drive in April of 2019. So it hasn't been too long since we've had it. It's exactly what you might think. It's an online ordering solution for small and medium-sized restaurants. And the reason why, lately I've been just tinkering around with it and playing with it a little bit more and looking at the data. The reason why I think it's so powerful is right now, if you're a restaurant working with Grubhub, Uber Eats, or DoorDash, you're paying 30%.
I know, I've heard that.
On your order, which is insane, right? If I told you, or I told my investors that I have customer concentration of 30% of my business with 1 or 2 or 3 customers, they would laugh at me, right? And they would be very concerned. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? So what we've been doing is, and what we will do going forward is, we want to give Menu Drive away for free. I want every single small and medium-sized business restaurant to have Menu Drive. So just how Microsoft coined the term that Google was evil, we believe that Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash are evil because they are potentially taking 30% of your business.
In an already slim margin business.
Exactly.
It's like, hello.
But if you can capture that customer through Uber Eats or one of those third-party delivery services the first time, and then they come and then you throw in a card in the bag that says, hey, next time you get 25% off your order if you order on this website, which is a link that we'll build for you for free. Now you've captured that customer into your own ecosystem.
Right, right.
We're more than happy to do that. I want to swing the power back toward the small and medium-sized business.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's huge for us. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Well, that's called a competitive advantage where I sit.
Right. That's great. I love to hear that.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Salim. It's been great getting to know you and learning all about technology and how it'll help operators run a more efficient business. There's several features I think that our audience should take a very close look at, and I definitely encourage you to go to the website and check it out. Get a free demo. It won't take much of your time, and it'll help you make a better decision. So
thank you.
You're very welcome, Salim. That was the Restaurant RockStars podcast. We will see you all in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant RockStars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.